Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Let's get ready for Gnosis. Well, I want to talk about water yet again, and I've gone over this many times, and it's always something people talk about, and I've found, as usual, there's a lot of misinformation. And what is water, and what is its energetic reality? Well, I've been a big fan and still use distilled water. Now, I should extrapolate on this a little more because I just don't distill water and drink it that way. Now, the problem is that what you want to do with water is basically make it energetic and chemical free. This means bacterias. This means any kind of toxins that are in there. You want to get rid of all that. How do you do that? Well, if you're filtering stuff from a filter that comes into your house, it's still loaded with negative energies, even if you've taken it out. I've just read an article recently that most of Chicago is drinking lead toxified water. How shocking is that? The city is loaded with lead pipes. So you're eating that, just like drinking out of an aluminum can. You're drinking aluminum. Eating out of plastic, you're eating plastic. Drinking out of plastic, you're eating. I mean, these are the terrible things that you can do something about very easily yourself to take care of these problems. Don't buy things in plastic. Don't buy water in plastic bottles. Distillers are commonly available. They run anywhere for about $120 to about $250 for your average. Make sure that you're getting a distiller that distills the water into a glass container. A lot of them come with plastic containers, so you're dropping hot water into plastic bottles. Ooh, that's good for the still. I'm glad the water is neutral because now it's full of plastic, Thor. Hey, I love that plastic. It makes you shiny. So the whole idea is that these are the kind of silly things that go on out there. So is there any way to filter water to make it proper? There is no way to filter it. You're not getting all the crap out of it. Filters in themselves are a problem. When do they stop working? Are they full? Is your water really toxic? Which means you could have to change a filter monthly, every couple of weeks. You just don't know. How do you know? Well, you don't know. So filters in themselves are just a nightmare. And that doesn't change the energy of the water. You're just filtering it yet again. Now, there has been a lot of research done on water, and water is basically what you would call a memory chip. It's a crystal. Water is crystalline. And water will hold energy. I'm not sure for how long. There's been a lot of stuff done by the Japanese researcher who claims to have frozen water crystals, and you think certain thoughts and it takes it in there, etc. Well, this certainly is true. If that is true, coming from your pipelines, oh, we've got some really nice energy out there, don't we? Particularly in Chicago or anywhere for that matter, with the kind of energies are there. It's going through the ground, which may give it some sort of installation. It's going through toxic pipes. It's going through copper, lead, whatever. And then it gets through all the other things and all the thoughts and energies that are in it. So what do you want to do energetically as well? You want to eliminate that. How do you eliminate energy that's in water? You distill it. Now let me get into the other things here. So dead or non-energetic water is not necessarily overly good for you. And it's certainly better than drinking lead and toxins and all the wonderful things like all over Europe. They have the Legionnaire bacteria in there because they can't figure out how to kill that in your pipes. So all those bacteria which have been in people's pipes for years and years, which is near impossible to get rid of, you get to drink it. Ooh, how nice. So the whole idea is that this is a problem as well. So you want to make sure you're getting your water down to nothing. Now, distilled water has been claimed incorrectly that it is somehow bad for you because there's no pollution in it. I mean, it didn't drop through the earth. You didn't go into a lake and pick up, fish poo and so-called all the great minerals in there, which is, of course, nonsense. You don't get minerals. You don't even get pure water from water. You get pure water from foods and other things that you eat. Basically, a chicken breast has about a cup of water in it. Salads have similar amounts. So if you're eating vegetables, and even you would think, oh, there's no water in meat, though. It's just dead meat. Well, it's just not true. Everything has water in it. And there's been tests done, a very interesting one that was done by the BBC, the bogus, boring news company, is the fact that we are not dehydrated if you just eat food. So, as I said, and you don't have to eat fruit, you don't even have to eat green stuff. You can eat meat and still get. There's a huge amount of water in everything. Okay, that's number one. So walking around with bottles, I think that started in the late 70s with Perrier. Ooh, it's fancy water. Pay lots of money for crappy sparkling stuff that's no good for you, which is artificially carbonated, by the way. But carbonation is a sign of death. How nice. Let's take that in. It also acidifies your body, gives you heartburn and all sorts of fun things that the idiot Europeans have been doing for years because they have sewer water because they don't take care of their water systems. So the whole idea is this is, of course, nonsense. And to think that sparkling water, which carbonation was created by a British guy, and then, of course, the Germans came in and stole that, a guy named Schweppes, who patented what the British guy made. So German. Ooh, we steal, ooh. So the whole idea is that that's how it all goes with the reality of it. But it's certainly not healthful. The British guy said, I don't know what to do with this. So the whole idea is that then came in the sodas, and this was a unique way of making boring water kind of fizzy. It makes my nose tingle. So people caught on with that, and of course, carbonated beverages became something that people kind of liked. And it's bad for you. What's new? So, another artificial reality. There's no water that comes up out of the ground sparkling like you get in the bottles. They're all adding carbonation to it, regardless of the little bit of death energy that's in there. Now, again, you're not picking up minerals this way. If you were to get your minerals from water, you'd have to drink probably 100 gallons a day, and that would kill you because you can't really drink over about 5 liters, and it becomes unhealthy. It's too much water. Your body kicks it out. Your body has all sorts of problems with too much water. So carrying around a bottle, everybody's got a bottle in their hand like they're going to croak any minute because they ain't got hydrated. I've heard doctors, particularly 10, 15 years ago, what's one thing we can do, doctor, to make ourselves healthier?
Well, you need to drink a lot of fluids.
Really? Thank you for your ignoramus comment, dear doctor. Go back to what you do. So, the whole idea, nothing. So, the whole idea is that this, of course, is nonsense. So, your body has plenty of liquids, and putting more in there is really not doing much of it. People say if you're going through certain problems or detoxing, drink more water, and other things. Well, that may help, but it's not just urine that's cleaning your body out. It has to go through your liver. It has to go through your kidneys. These are your filters. So, and you have to make sure that all of this is working well. And of course, you want to get things out of your body. But, peeing 24 hours a day is just a hardship on your kidneys and everything else. It doesn't make any sense. If your kidneys are working properly, they will kick out with normal amounts of fluid, sugars, salts, and other things. Of course, they're not doing their job because everybody has sick kidneys and livers, fatty liver. Everybody has almost, and we have to work on this, and something I will be getting into here soon. So we need to look at that. Now, what came to me recently here is I've been investigating Hazel Parcells, the famous healer from who lived to be 106, who had a healing practice in New Mexico for many years, and she also wrote a couple of books giving her entire system, which I heartily recommend, and will be reviewing and talking about her soon. But she brought up an issue with distilled water that I don't know if I spoke about directly in terms of, again, another person. And I think she was probably the one that started it, as she started most of the health trends that are used today for one reason or another. Probably most people haven't heard of her, but certainly all the alternative practitioners have picked up on her work and have talked about it. Things like aluminum and food combining. We're going to get into all that stuff as well. We'll talk about it. Let's get back to, of course, what you need to do. Now, I use distilled water exclusively, but I don't drink a lot of regular water, even though I'm starting to a little more, but I drink a lot of teas. So I buy high-quality fruit teas in bulk. Never use tea bags. They're toxic. They're junk. They're a ripoff. You buy things in bulk. You throw it in the water, you let it sit, and then you strain it out. Or you use some sort of stainless steel tea holder that you immerse in whatever you're doing. So, very important. Not only do you get real tea that way, you avoid the toxins that are in tea bags and the really rip-off that tea bags are. It always amazes me that, you always find people who think they know a lot, like you would think that the Brits would never ever use tea bags. Oh, fright fair, darling. Wrong. Go everywhere in Britain, they're using tea bags, white tea bags full of toxins, and they think they're getting good tea that way. And usually tea bags have the lowest quality tea in it. That's just what they do. So you want good tea, you buy it in bulk. It appears to cost a lot, but you don't use that much. So I use Orange Pico, which is fantastic tea, and there's supposed to be good benefits. Oh, y'all, look at how long the Queen lived. So the whole idea is that the reality of drinking tea is supposed to be good for you, but drinking water tends to be very boring. So you mix it with tea. Black teas, green teas, purple teas, orange teas, monkey face teas, all of them are out there. So you buy in bulk, try and get organic, or at least a bulk in general, so you get the taste is completely different. You actually get real taste that way. And you can make it weak, you can make it strong. That's the way it is. You do the same thing with coffees. Coffees, of course, I used to grind my own. Oh, so sophisticated. And so forth. I got away from that. What a waste of time that is. With the sealing of ground tea, coffee now, which I do buy organic, it's not a problem. Put it in a good jar. You don't have to spend that time screwing around with the grinder because you're so sophisticated. I buy whole beans because it's so much better when you grind the bean. Well, it isn't. The beans dry out like anything else. And if the good metal containers that real ground coffee come in, they're perfectly fresh when you get them. So another thing not to waste your time with. We have to be careful wasting our time with pseudo-intellectual pursuits of snobism and stupidity that mean nothing except to a class of boobs. So the whole idea is that we need to. So I buy organic coffee, it's pre-ground, and I put it in a very sealed glass container, the type that you clamp down on. It stays fresh and there almost indefinitely. You do the same thing with buying bulk teas. You buy these bulk teas, you put them in the glass containers. Of course, you never leave them in their metal containers, which are most likely aluminum. You pull them out of there, and you put it in there so they don't sit and get any more toxified than they are. So that's how. So you drink teas, you drink coffees. If you want to drink the water by itself, obviously that's another way to go. It depends. I make bottles of tea and put them in my refrigerator. So when I want iced or fruit tea, and I generally drink all my teas cold except for green tea, in bottles. So I put those in bottles in my refrigerator, and that's it. And they're made with the distilled water that I make. Now, there's a couple of things here. Now, distilled water is what you get from God, otherwise known as rainwater. So, rainwater is distilled. There's nothing in it. It didn't go through the ground. It didn't go anywhere. But there is an element to rainwater that makes it superior to distilled water, even though they're chemically the same, but they're energetically different. And this was pointed out to me. Of course, I always was energizing my distilled water anyway. Now, when you make distilled water, and it's in a jug that you get from that. Well, I don't leave it in that jug because I'm going to make more water anyway. I use pretty much, looks like a gallon of water a day between my pets, myself, and everything else. So I'm always making distilled water. And distilled water does create a lot of heat when you make it. And I put it in my bathroom and usually turn it on an hour or so before taking a shower. And I have a nice toasty bathroom that I don't have to heat up and pay more money for. So the whole idea is that the heats up a place. It does put out a lot of heat. I don't think it uses that much electricity, but if you're going to buy water, if you're going to haul it, if you're going to drink it out of plastic bottles, all that stuff is very negative and it's not cheap. I mean, ultimately, it costs you money. So making a distilled water for the electricity involved, and these are very sealed systems, can't be very much. But what do you have there when you make distilled water? You have energetically and made in, and the actual product is actually, there's no energy in it, or very little energy in it, and there is no chemicals in it whatsoever. So, now, that in itself, still, I don't think it's not necessarily bad for you. People claim that because water doesn't have minerals in it, meaning rainwater, that it sucks things out of your body. I wish it was that simple. I really do. I wish it was cleansing your body with the fact of drinking water and it sucked that out of there. Just complete nonsense. When water goes in your body, unless you're fasting, or even if you're not, it's mixing with all the chemical acids, the foods you've eaten, so you're not getting pure distilled water in your system anyway. So it's going through this entire mishmash of garbage. So even if you were doing a water fast, and this would suck stuff out of your system, and they're claiming you're sucking the good stuff out of you, and it pulls the stuff out of your kidneys and everything else. Well, nonsense. I don't believe any of that stuff is happening whatsoever. This is a paranoia or actually not looking at what's there. But what's the big difference between your distilled water and nature's distilled water? Well, there is an energetic factor. Now, you must remember, when it rains, it's still not raining in a void. It's not a vacuum. So it's going through the atmosphere. So you're getting good and bad there. The atmosphere is full of toxins. Your air is full of toxins. It's full of radiation and everything else. But there's also things like sunlight. There are the energies coming from the clouds and the natural Schumann resonance, so to speak, that is part of the vital reality of what is there. So the bottom line is that you are getting these energies which are filling this neutral crystal energy, otherwise known as nature's distilled water. So you are getting energetic water. And I think this is important. Now, I never ignored this, but I'm not sure I talked about it enough. So when you make your own water, and there's no other way around it, if you're buying stuff in plastic containers, you're a boob. And you can really taste the difference. Anything you buy in plastic, if you drink it, you're getting a plastic taste to it. And maybe you're accustomed to that. Maybe you don't appreciate pure foods anymore. It don't taste plasticky, Thor. This ain't no good. So the whole idea is that this is how these things actually work. So you have to somehow, now it's very difficult to get anything in glass bottles anymore. And of course, glass bottles are preferable to everything. So if you're going to drink anything and you can get it in glass bottles, it's fine. Remember those juice containers? Well, most of them are plastic. You know, the ones that look like, you think milk cartons or paper cartons? You think paper holds water? Well, I suggest you get a piece of copy paper, wrap it up really good, and then pour water in it, see how long it survives. So, no, milk cartons and all these milk and juice and everything else that kind of look like cartons, and you do call them cartons, and yes, they are plastic-coated paper. So the inside of that, like all cans that we make today, have plastic coatings. So if you buy soup, if you buy anything in a, in a can, they have plastic coating inside. So you just can't get away from it, and nobody really cares. So you have to care. So this is one of the problems of getting, the first step everybody should do in their diet is get rid of all the actual toxins, the colors, the preservatives, the extra things added, like even the way it's packaged. You know, everything's in plastic, and you need to get that stuff out of the plastic as soon as you get it home. Put it in glass. Make that your lifestyle. Cleaning your food is important. There's ways, and we'll get into that as well, which was brought up by Parcells as well, which I've started this process, and I think some of it is silly, but other ones may have value. So we'll go into all of that as we analyze the Parsons system. Now, But let's get back to distilled water. So generally your water is chemically dead and energetically dead. Now, chemically dead is generally good. Okay? Meaning there's no toxins in there, there's no chlorines, nitrates, poisons, Legionella disease. Ooh, that's a nice name. And the whole idea is all the crap that's in there, and hopefully the fluorides, the chlorines, and other things that tend to be toxic are not in your water. But there's a problem here, and energetically there ain't nothing there. So what does that mean in the bigger picture? Well, anything that's energetically dead generally isn't good for you. But remember, if you're mixing it with teas and you're putting it in food, well, there's energy in your teas and your foods. So a lot of this is bogus to a degree. But that ain't good enough for me because I'm a subtle energy scientist. And the bottom line is I want as much positive energy as I can generate. And of course, since you're basically drinking a crystal memory chip, it should be programmed properly. It just makes sense. And how can you do this? By, of course, Dr. Thor's philosophy. I'm lazy. How easy can it get? I got time. I got Gomer Pyle on there I got to watch. I can't be worrying about energizing me water. And, Gilligan's Islands after that. And let's not forget Green Acres and Zorro. So the whole idea is we got things to do that are important. So, what do you want to do? So energetically is what we're talking. Life is about energy. Once we get down to understanding energies, the use of energies, and the accumulation and programming of energies, everything in life will be solved. So it's as simple as that. So what do you do here? So first of all, you get that water that's in that other glass container, and you get a jug that is a pouring jug. These jugs you can get anywhere. You want a pure glass. And I would recommend, I got some fancy ones, and of course they broke within a couple of months. You get a nice heavy jug, that's designed to hold liquids. 100% pure, beautiful, programmable glass. So it's glass. And what do? So now that's not weird. So you pour the distilled water in your jug. This way you can grab it off the table, put it there for your teas or whatever else, add it to your foods, whatever you're using it for, and it's right there out in the open. And of course it has a little top on it, so you don't get any flying bugs in there, whatever may happen there. But that's not good enough. A jug of energetically neutral or no energy is not necessarily what you want to drink. And if you do drink stuff like that, it's certainly not going to add to it. And my life is about adding to everything. What can I do to add to energy so I can live longer, better? And we're all fighting against the old death axe that is coming out. Depending on what your background is, your stresses, your family history, you're all fighting death all the time. Oh, thank you, God. So the whole idea is that this is what we're always up against. So what do? Well, there's very simple ways to do it. I'm going to show you my glass thing set up in one of my upcoming videos here, so you'll see it in live action. So the whole idea is, what do you put in that jug there? Well, the first thing you can do is you put stones in there. Now, one of the best things to do in there is just get a clear quartz tip. You can get these pretty much anywhere, clear quartz, and it should be natural, not grown somewhere. But you get these actual crystals, and you pop them in there. Good sized crystal. You can also get other stones. Are there stones that you like? Maybe there's stones for healing. Rose quartz, a nice thing to put in there. So, you can put any amount of stones you want in there of different types that you can find. Some people even sell little packages of stones that are for healing and other things. So I put those in there as well. But quartz crystal in itself is a good energy. And all you have to do is get something that's probably 1.5 inches long, whatever that fits in, natural thing, and drop that in there, and that will do it. But that's not enough for me. I get things there, and I'll show you these when I show you the picture of it. I have quartz crystal that are cut like pyramids, pyramid plates. All of these things, which are 9 little pyramids on a little plate that are cut that way. There's cubes where they have 64 mini pyramids on there to cut. This is the kind of stuff I put in there. And you can get these online at Etsy, eBay, etc. You can buy these things relatively inexpensive. But remember, you're going to use these for the rest of your life. So if you have to spend $30, $40 to get yourself a nice little quartz crystal carved properly pyramid, you do it. So you're not buying these things every week. And you don't need a fancy little purse that does nothing for your life. Get yourself some crystals and put them in there. Now, I always like to look at things as what is the cost factor based on the use factor. If something's a lifetime tool, when you amortize that over 10, 20, 50 years, it costs you virtually nothing. What have you got back from it? Well, you get a huge amount back from it. So what do you get back from a pair of running shoes, a fancy designer sweater, or purse, or some other godforsaken junk you get out there that is once it's used, it's used. So you buy yourself a nice bottle of wine, bottle of whiskey, whatever it may be, you're dropping $20, $30 for some of this stuff. If you get what have you got from it? Well, what does that last? A week or two? So be realistic. There are consumables and they're the things that you use. So the whole idea is you're going to use this glass jug you have, this pitcher is what it is, and then you drop these things in it. Well, of course, when you get them, you clean them good, you run them under water. I usually put them in sea salt for 24 hours, rinse them again. Hold them in your left hand, or your right hand, I should say, and then you program them for whatever you need. These are filled with health energy. Place them on one of our energy cells. After you've cleared them and they've dried, you place them on an energy cell for health, for well-being. If you have the multi-cell, now that energy is in there. And now you want to plop this stuff, all of these, and you really can put as much as you want. I've got about 10 or 15 items in there. Oh, let's not forget the tachyons, our special tachyons, cells that we offer, which have tachyons, neutrons, and gravitons in them at an energetic level. So I have a bunch of these in my water as well. So these are all the type of things you put in there, and you can buy these offline. So everybody should have the water tachyon energy cells to go in there. Very important. These are very high energies that do not accumulate any toxicities, and they blow every other toxicities out of there. So very, very important that you have these crystals, the tachyons, the other things that are in there, so you have high energetic levels. Now, what did that just do to that basically computer memory program? Well, you just programmed it with an awesome amount of energy. And it's not one time. No, those things last forever. So every time you fill that jug up, these are left at the bottom. So the only time you take these out is when you occasionally clean the actual pitcher itself. So, and that probably, I don't know, depends on your water and everything else. I clean mine about once a month, depending on how bad it starts to look, if there's some accumulation of energies there. And generally, of chemicals. Generally, you don't get accumulation with distilled water because there's no calcium and other crap in there to cause problems. Now, here's the kicker of the kicker, people. How do you get a real cosmic energy there? Well, we're going to be coming out with water charging devices that have some extra things in there, but how do you bring natural energy? Now, we talked about the natural energy you get from rainwater. It's got the typical good, and we have these energy producers that put out your 7.8 Schumann resonance. But the resonance here, which is basically 7.8 to 8, it's in that area range. It does vary, by the way. It doesn't stay at that range. But the whole idea is that this is the life-sustaining energy field we live in. Okay? So it's very important to have that. But what is the part of that creates this energy frequency in the atmosphere? Well, a lot of it comes from, guess what, people? Sunlight. So sunlight is very, very important. Light in general is what all energy is made of, and it is very critical to your survival. So what do you do? So here's the other thing I just added here after reading Parcells' book. And of course, the energetic with the crystals in is good, but that ain't good enough for me. I'm a subtle energy physicist. That's right. I got my degree from Jed Clampett and Beverly Hillbillies. He taught me how to do that. But the whole idea is that, and Jethro, of course. So the whole idea is we all have to understand exactly how to energize everything. So what's a good thing that puts that at? Well, sunlight is called full spectrum lighting. Now, full spectrum lighting is something that is readily available now. I think, again, this was started by Parcells in the 70s and 80s, and now has become part of the natural tradition that everybody uses. Now, full spectrum light has all the spectrums, which means you're getting all these colors, all these energies. You're part of the natural environment that's out there. And the sun rays and the effect we get from the sun when done correctly, the radiation that comes from it purifies everything. Now, you ever see with sunlight on, you ever have some clothes where you left too long near a window where the sun goes on it or anything else? What happens to that? They kind of get bleached, don't they? Why? Because the sun, with the radiation, is purifying and oxidizing it, killing all the bacteria. So this is part of the process, and we'll go into that to a large degree, but it's a very healthful energy. Full spectrum lighting, which you can get anywhere. I just bought a cool little full spectrum light that's on a stand from Amazon. I think it was very inexpensive, made for fish bowls, but it works perfect. And again, I will show you this in an upcoming video, which will be posted soon. So the whole idea is that this is a 10-watt bulb, and you place it right above, and I'll show you my setup, above your water pitcher, shining down on it, and this will kill all sorts of bacteria and if there is anything left. And in still waters, there shouldn't be, but maybe there is. But I'm more concerned about the subtle energy. I want my water vibrating healthful energies. So the crystals do a great job, particularly the different shaped ones like pyramids and multi-pyramids, and even things like the Platonic solids, which are perfect energy shapes. You can buy these as well. We used to sell them, but they come in generally as 5 or 7 shapes. These are good to put in your water as well. You're getting these pure energetic shapes, which produce excellent energy with you. And you know, life is not about miracle cures. Life is about sustaining yourself so you don't get sick and using lots of little energies to keep yourself well. So the whole idea is when you get sick, the game's over to a degree. Then you have to fight for wellness. So the whole idea is you use this particular water, and that is energized. You leave the full spectrum light on, and generally a full jug of water, I leave it on there for about 10 minutes, the light shining from the top down. I mean, it's not much water. It must be half a gallon in a pitcher. So you don't need it on. It's only 10 watts. It doesn't use a lot of energy. And that goes in there and energizes the water. And every time you drink the water or use it, you refill up the pitcher. Well, you turn the light on for 10, 15 minutes yet again. So you don't even have to use a lot. This is a perfect thing that I found. It'll be very helpful to people, save you the stress of figuring it all out yourself, because I've done it for you. So that's how you get perfect water. So now you're at an energetically high level. So when I talked about distilled waters and so forth, and I'm not sure I mentioned how you should be energizing it, because it is dead. And if you're using filtered water out of your pipes, as I said, you're getting your whole community toxicity. It's been programmed by going through pipes and underground. The pipes are full of toxins. They could possibly be lead. You don't know where your water's coming from. Secondly, to a large extent, waters tend to be filtered on their own. A lot of people don't know that, but they're filtered at the plant that actually takes the sewage water and water in general. So a lot of times they're adding chemicals to it, chlorine, other things are added to it. Los Angeles, I believe, is ozonating the water, and that's another way to get rid of bacteria, as I'll talk about soon here as well. But the whole idea is a lot of waters are filtered and filtered to a high degree, so they take out all bacteria and other things, and guess what? They take all the minerals out of it. So the waters that you're getting through your pipe, which you may think are better, they got minerals in it. Well, they may not have minerals in it at all. That we do know they're probably going to have gobs of copper, gobs of lead, and God knows what else these pipes are run to. And you got to remember, water sits in these pipes for God knows how long. So this is a serious problem. As you said, if you live in the Chicago area, you're in big trouble. And we also have to understand that water is not just drank. Anytime you use water, you should be using your good water. cooking with water, boiling water for whatever, if you're making, which you shouldn't be, but if you're making pastas or using water to cook with, well, guess what, people? You should be using your distilled water. This is how you tend to go through a lot of water. So all of this is part of it. And then the most neglected area, which I used to neglect horribly for years, drinking all this good water, taking all these supplements, and then I got into the shower under Legionnaire bacteria. And some people claim that you take in at least a quart of water. That's a liter of water every time you take a shower, your body sucks in. Well, that's nice. And of course, nobody thinks about that, thinking that there's no way that this affects you. Because it's just a shower. I mean, how much water could your skin take in? Well, if you're taking in a quart of liquid, 1 liter of liquid, well, that's a lot of liquid to drink that's full of poison. So there's all sorts of attachments you can get for your shower depending on your personal water problems. I have to use a very great filter to get the Legionnaire bacteria out of it. Most people probably don't need that. You can find these on most big sites, your Esse's, your Amazons, your eBays. You can find different filtering shower types. And there's ones, I use ones that have LED lights in it and they change colors. But, getting light in there and getting extra colors that shine on you is a good idea. Colors do affect the bioenergetic field. And they have these little balls of stuff that soften the water, that take out some toxins, etc. And there's lots of these. And you have to look at the one appropriate for your situation. And I don't know how your local water district should tell you what's in your water. Usually they send out a brochure or something. It's good to look into and go on the internet and find out, well, does your area have a lot of farms in it? You probably have arsenic, and you probably have all sorts of fun things in there. So the whole idea is that all of this stuff, when you take a shower, and particularly baths, you should be filtering your water. If you're taking baths, you should be using an ozonator, which is a little machine that puts out raw oxygen. Put that in the bath water, let it ozonate it, and you'll sit in a great oxygen capacity there, which is great for you in general. And you're going to, by doing that, by filling your bath water with ozone, you're killing any kind of bacteria that are in there. And ozonation has been used to purify water for probably 100 years, and generally is preferable to adding chlorines into the waters as well, because ozone just oxygenates it, and oxygenation kills all bacteria. So, and it's a good way to drink water. You can oxygenate the water, drink it right down. I drink it right down in the actual, while it's ozonating. So getting as much oxygen in your body generally is a good idea. So those types of things is what we have to look at as a general situation. So, using a full spectrum light, and these are everywhere, so it's not a problem getting these like it used to be. You used to buy them at health food stores and other things, but getting a full spectrum light is going to bring you that energetic factor of creating this life empowering environmental energy, otherwise known as the Schumann resonance, the 7.8. All that's part of full spectrum light, and a lot of other things that you get actually from the sun, which is very good for you in proper proportions. But in general, the sun is really good for you. You just have to be careful not to get burned in other things. But sunlight is always. And what does sunlight do? Sunlight, because it is ultraviolet in nature, is purifying. So it kills bacteria. So a lot of things are done in the pandemic, and I have one myself, is buying an ultraviolet light. Now that's sunlight. So you don't want to look at ultraviolet lights, stare at them directly, and you don't want to look into full spectrum lights either. You want to make sure it's shined on what it is. And of course, I use my full spectrum light in my closet to clean some of my clothes, and the damn thing's bleached. So you have to be careful. So full spectrum lights you have to respect, just like ozone you have to respect, because you can't just sit in a giant ozone environment because it's hard to breathe activated oxygen. But it's good for you when done correctly. Like so many things. You use a pencil to write something with, don't stick it in your eye. Use it right. So the whole idea is that that's how all these things work. So we need to understand that fact of what's going on with the whole process. So this is all part of what we're doing to do it. But this will now bring not only will this make your water perfect, you're now using the water, as you should, as a healing tool. Now, this high energy water, you're mixing with teas, you're mixing with coffees, you're mixing it in your actual foods you're cooking in. All of this now brings the pretty low level of energetic energy that is in foods and waters and teas, and everything else is bringing it out. To a certain extent, it's going to even cleanse toxicities out of there. So for one reason or another, you have some bacterias in your particular teas. Maybe you got a buildup of whatever it may be. Well, when you make tea with this water, it's going to take a lot of those toxins out of there. And some people claim that it even releases other toxins, maybe physical toxins, which I have trouble understanding, but this is what some people claim. So when you use energized water like this, you're doing your whole body and your whole stream of food. So again, people overemphasize, oh, your body's made of 80%, 70%. What is all that stuff? No, it's not. It's seasoned water. Your water, which is blood, a lot of this is water, but there's all sorts of other things in that. That's why we eat foods. That's why we take supplements. So your whole system is a whole big chemical factory, and what's moving the chemicals in your factory is a water-based movement system. So, overemphasizing, I think that you have to have pure water for some goofball bottle that's filled with carbonated garbage is nonsense, perpetrated by your friendly neighborhood poison corporation. Buy our stuff, it'll kill you. So that's what they give you, people. And of course, you should be staying away from horrible things that are liquid stuff. I mean, make your own teas, make your own coffees. Do not buy that stuff. Don't drink sodas. Don't drink all these other things that you're drinking now. They're no good for you. You want occasional soda? Well, that's okay. Nobody dies from that. And nothing like a good root beer or Dr. Pepper. But, you got to get away from thinking that you have to do what society tells you to do, and that's something. I grew up with the poison. I need it till I die. Well, you will die sooner. Oh, nice. That's what your parents taught you. And, eat 20 times a day. Have food in your gullet all the time. Well, this is what they tell you. And where do you think all this came from? Well, this all came from corporations to sell you stuff like eating breakfast was an invention of companies, not something that humans really ever did. So, all of this is what you've got to break yourself of and understand. But getting back to the energetics, you've got to energize your distilled water with crystals, stones, particularly our tachyons. This is a high energy level that will bring up your state of well-being dramatically. Added with crystals and other things, there's really an endless resource of what you can put in there, as long as it's not something that decays and gets in the water. You're just releasing energies with crystals and stones and tachyons. So that's all part of it. Then give it the capper of cappers, people. Hit it with full spectrum light. Now, this isn't lighty bulbs. Full spectrum is a particular type of frequency light wave energy, and it must be full spectrum, and they're all over the internet, certainly all over Amazon and anywhere else you want to do it. So keep all that in mind, people. Now you know how to make the perfect water. That's a good place to start. Water is important because you use it everywhere, but remember, it's not just itself, it's the energetic factor of it. And remember that you're getting water from many different sources, as I've already mentioned. Pure water comes from things like vegetables, fruits, which you have to limit, particularly if they're sweetie, because they're loaded with fructose, which is terrible for you. But you're getting that. As I said, if you have I think it's a half a chicken breast, there's almost a cup of water in it. It's actually fascinating how much water is in everything. So don't get caught up in the fact that you need some specialized water and those pseudo-intellectual stuck-ups that think they have to get crappy garbage pumped out of a sewer in Europe and then flown to you for $1 or $2 a bottle has some great benefit to it. It doesn't. And it doesn't have enough minerals in it if it is, quote, mineral waters mixed with death energies, otherwise known as carbonation. That somehow is enough minerals to sustain you with anything. And that somehow is minerals that your body uses better, etc. Bogus nonsense. So, fancy waters are a waste of money. They're energetically terrible. So the whole idea is I've just shown you how to make fantastic energetic water. And God knows how this can help your system. I mean, people seem to get miracle results from so much stuff I read about, which is so infantilely basic that people would get results from. That is shocking. When you get a real product like this that you create yourself, that's in your home, it should do miracles. Now, you'll have to find out for yourself. Do it yourself, put your own energy into it, and create what you want in life and stop being controlled by others. Until next time.